It's a yes bank maximum, the first of this contest. Oh, that is brilliant. It's a hero maximum. On the ground, down the ground, another hero maximum.
Welcome back to the Maximum Cricket Podcast. My name is Munter, and we have Jacko back. We don't have Lugsy. I'm going to let him sort of explain himself in a little bit, but this is episode 34 and the first of 2023. Jacko, first of all, Happy New Year. You have a nice Christmas and New Year break.
Yeah, mate. Happy New Year to you too. Yeah, definitely a nice time of year. You know, lots of cricket on the telly. Lots of food to eat. So you know, our two favourite things here at the Maximum Cricket Podcast.
That's it. Yeah, a lot of cricket on the telly. I can't say I've watched a lot of it like in depthly. It's actually pretty tough to watch it when you're a few beers deep. You're sort of watching in the background and you know playing a bit of golf and things like that, trying to hang out with the family and all that sort of stuff. But we're not here to review the last sort of few weeks of cricket. We want to sort of discuss the whole of 2022. We've got the first edition of the TMC Awards. Where we as a panel, we decide the legacies of certain individuals from the previous year. I know a couple of these guys teetering, and I'm sure the TMC award will move the needle a fair way. We're talking, you know, batter and bowlers of all three formats. But, you know, we're a big fan of American sports at TMC, so we've decided to add a few others: Coach of the Year, Most Improved Player, Rookie of the Year, big favourite of that, and the biggest prize of them all, MVP. Before we crack on to that, we'll hear from Lugsy. He's going to explain why he's not here today and just sort of kickstart our awards evening.
Yeah, g'day guys. Lugsy speaking. Welcome to the 2023 awards show, first annual. But gutted I can't be joining the boys live and going through all the awards. It was a real focus of mine for this year to get a bit more organised. Sort of just, you know, do what I should as a man and just be a bit more organised and together. And I started that by forgetting my laptop charger and leaving that out of Mosgiel. So we've gone to record yesterday and old Lugsy's had no charger and has been unable to join the boys. So I'll let them do their thing and we'll be back better than ever starting next week. I'm just going to fire through a few of my takes, a few of my winners of this illustrious awards show. Bit nervy going first, obviously, or doing these alone, because I might pull a few rabbits out of nowhere here and have a few takes maybe that are off the money, but we may be all in consensus. Who knows? Anyway, I'll just a wee welcome from me, and I'll get some awards going through.
Yeah, something brilliant from Crom there to start us off, isn't it?
It's probably the best part about it is just the fact that he sort of made a pledge to himself that he wanted to be a bit more organised, and he's done the complete opposite, like straight off the bat.
Yeah,
tough.
The message through the group chat was like so funny, just being like, "Yeah, look, sorry, I'm trying to be more organised, like trying to get my things together, but I forgot my charger." I quite enjoyed that. Like the laptop was dead. And like he couldn't find a charger anywhere else in the house. Like there was just like so much that went into that, so that we couldn't record. So yeah, quite funny.
Yeah, just the thought of a Lugsy like all ready to record. Maybe he's got a drink, maybe he's got a snack, sitting down at his desk. You know, goes to flip open the laptop, and he's just sitting there with a dead laptop. Probably pretty disappointed in himself.
Yeah, the old Black Mirror staring back at him.
It's never nice. So we will hear from Lugsy. He has got his votes in as we get through the show. Jacko, before we touch on the T20 stuff, anything you want to touch on before we get into it?
No, I think, like as you said, a lot of cricket to unpack over the last sort of month. So there's probably no point us going through it. But no, good to see result cricket being played around the world, and hopefully this awards can get people through the first few days back at work for the year.
Beautiful. Okay, so yeah, as I said, we'll start with T20 International Batter of the Year. I was going to do some honourable mentions, but I think these four are pretty like ahead of the pack looking at some of these stats. We're going to start with the King, Virat Kohli, in a bounce back year. 781 runs at 55.78, strike rate of 138.23, 100, which broke a 3-year drought, and 850s, most runs at the T20 World Cup. Very, very good. We've got Mohammad Rizwan, 996 runs at 45.27, a strike rate of 122.96, 0 hundreds, but 10 50s. Very, very consistent, although slow. Glenn Phillips, real breakout star in the T20 circuit, 716 runs at 44.75, strike rate of 156.33, very high. One massive 100 against Sri Lanka and 6 50s. And our last nomination is Sky, 1,164 runs at 46.56, more runs than anyone else, with a strike rate of 187.43, the highest of anyone over 500 runs, 200s, 950s. I think last night he just got another 100 or 50 rocks. It's probably no surprise that Sky was the fan vote, and I think it's pretty tough. Like, do we want to get Lugsy's take first?
Yeah, we'll play through Lugsy's first. Just trying to get it here. He's gone for T20 Player of the Year, so I'm assuming that's better because he's a batter and bowlers don't matter in his mind. So I'll get that up for us here.
2022 T20 Player of the Year. There's a few good nominations here, and great to see Glenn Phillips, the Kiwi, get a nomination. I think at the World Cup he proved his class, maybe on the biggest scale that people maybe weren't aware of him. And hopefully through that, sort of pick up some big deals going forward in the future, IPL, sort of ching-ching. And also a huge shout-out to the King, King Kohli, just to have him back in their mix and in that World Cup, sort of cometh the hour, cometh the man, sort of back on the big stage. The old King showed his class. But I went with Sky personally. I think I saw enough out of him at the T20 World Cup. Obviously, I hadn't watched as much of him as maybe some, just being with our timetable over here in New Zealand. But obviously, you see a lot of highlights and you hear about his class, and his record speaks for itself. But then to actually see it at the T20 World Cup, just a couple of those innings where he's playing all around the ground. He's got every shot in the books, as most of them do these days. And even to see him and Kohli batting together at times where they're sort of just taking the piss a bit together and look like they're having some fun. And I think, one of my favourite memories of that T20 World Cup was when Sky went out and Kohli couldn't quite believe it. Sky had to walk off and Kohli's sitting there like, hang on, this guy doesn't go out. So when you can make Kohli think like that, to me, you're the T20 Player of the Year. And I think just having his wee nickname as well really makes it roll off the tongue and forms the brand nicely. So, yeah, I'll go Sky, T20 Player of the Year.
Yeah, lovely to hear from Crom. Bullshit that he's basically cut every bowler out of the T20 Player of the Year.
That's a bit, I don't know if he meant to do that, but yeah, I know pretty poor.
Not a bowl. To be fair, T20 cricket not a bowler's game, is it? Like, the Player of the Year is never going to be a bowler, probably. But that's still bullshit, Crom. Hope you're listening. But yeah, no, as Crom said, good to have the King back, I think. World cricket is always good if Kohli's batting well. I feel like he's one of the great entertainers. But yeah, hard to go past, for me personally as well, Sky. I mean, visually just pretty to watch in terms of how he hits the ball, and then the record backs it up. I think striking at 180 for an entire year, averaging what he did, is obscene. Normally guys that strike at that probably average 15, maybe.
It's a finisher's role, normally.
Yeah. If you sort of your Matty Wades and your Neesham sort of strike at that and average 20. But for Sky to do it for long periods and average so high, it's a pretty clear cut T20 Player of the Year win for him.
Yeah. I'll make that 3 for 3, or even it'll be 4 for 4 if you count the fans votes, which going by the NBA All Stars is pretty risque thing to do. But nonetheless, I've got this one right, I think. As you said, like there's been a big shift from like your Kohlis and your Rizwans, like the guys that are consistent but go at like 120s, 130s, to now that strike rate, when you get up to the 150s, 180s, you're just so destructive. And to see, like you said, someone that's like a finisher but is so consistent is just mind blowing. Like he is genuinely 360. Like we throw that term around a lot. Like he's a 360 player, but this guy is genuinely 360. It's quite something. So I think it's pretty consensus. Unanimous T20 batter of 2022 is Sky. T20 bowler of the year. Little harder, probably not the bigger names this year. I think we've got the most wickets was Bhuvi Kumar with 36 wickets at 19, 6.8 RPO, 30 games played. We've got Hasaranga with 34 wickets at 15.52, RPO of 7.33, 19 games played. Harris Ralph from Pakistan, 31 wickets at 20, RPO of 7.54, 23 games. The fan vote, Sam Curran, 25 wickets at 21.08, 7.56 RPO, 19 games play. Those stats don't quite jump out on the screen as much, but T20 player of the World Cup is no joke. Now the richest player in the IPL history. So he's got that going for him. We'll hear from Lugsy first, and then we'll dive into some of our takes, if you will.
Again, some good nominations, and I've sort of somewhat broken my own rule here because I really like to go guys where I've actually seen them play a bit. And I didn't see this guy play a huge amount until the World Cup. And obviously it would be easy to go Sam Curran. Despite what Matt says, he had a great T20 World Cup. And I know Matt thinks we'll get him at Eden Park and he'll go for 400 off his 4, but he did prove his class at that World Cup and bowled terrifically to the grounds, and that's sort of the biggest stage. But I won't go him. On this occasion, I'll have to trust his stats, and obviously seeing what he done for Sri Lanka just in that World Cup, which I did see, he probably proved enough that he is quality and the best spin bowler in the world, T20 bowler in the world, and I'll give him the overall T20 bowler. I'll give Hasaranga the nod. It's based on stats a lot here, but his impact also on that Sri Lankan team who are struggling, he's sort of pulling them through a lot here. They had to qualify for that World Cup, and he was a big part of that, so you can't go past it, I guess. Harris Ralph, I also wanted to have a look at because I just love some of the spells he bowls. Love a good fast quick charging in and making it uncomfortable for the sticks. But I'll go, despite my better judgment, because I think spinners genuinely should just go. No disrespect to all the spinnings out there. It's going to give you a chance to get wickets when guys like me think you should just go. But yeah, I will go Hasaranga.
Geez, I tell you what, Crom is alienating half the cricketing community early here, isn't he? Having a real crack at spinners after having a real crack at all bowlers before.
Big fan of no disrespect and then immediately disrespecting them.
Yeah, no disrespect, but you should go. Yeah. No, it's good. It's spicy. I'll disagree with Crom, and I will probably go the easy, what some will perceive as the easy option. I think in a World Cup year, if you play the tournament and the best bowler on the best team wins it, I think that's who you want to look at as your best bowler in the year, because stats are good, but T20 cricket, if you can put a tournament together on the toughest stage, I think that's where the cream of the crop rises. So to do that on flat wickets in Aussie, I'll have to give it to Curran. So basically just standing up on the biggest stage and being quite elite during that World Cup. Have to go to Curran for me.
Yeah, no, it's a fair, and I have been down on Curran, but um, there's some good stuff there. I think I sort of broke it up into like three types of bowlers here, and you've obviously got your Hasaranga, your spinner, your Kumar, he's your power play bowler, and both of them like did their job well. And then you got Ralph and Curran, a death bowler, middle overs, and they all did their jobs well. And for me, I just because if you look at it just pure stats, raw stats, it's either Kumar or Hasaranga, average RPOs. But I think death bowling is the hardest job to do, and I think it's the least rewarding, and you can go at any point. Harris, Ralph, Coley, for instance. So for me, I ruled out Hasaranga and Kumar off the bat, and then it was between Ralph and Curran. Look, I couldn't split them, but the way I did it was that which bowler would I prefer bowling at the death at any ground? And that's Harris Ralph for me. Take away the World Cup, take away this. I think I'm gonna go Harris Ralph, and I think the more I thought about it, I thought about Sam Curran in that semi-final when he got pumped with short square boundaries because he couldn't bump anyone anymore. I'm still not 100% there, and I'm going to probably continue to eat apple pie, but I'm going to die on that hill for a wee bit, and I'm going to pick Harris Ralph. So with that, so we've got obviously one vote for Harris Ralph, one vote for Hasaranga, one vote for Sam Curran. So we will use the fan vote as a decider, which was Sam Curran. So with that being said, Sam Curran, who I'm sure after what I just said would love to receive an award from us.
We'll get him on actually to rebut you, I think.
Yeah, we'll get him on.
Get
him on. Yeah, friend of the show. Maybe not for long. Sam Curran, T20 Bowler of the Year 2022. Congratulations.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're right. Like probably Ralph is probably the better bowler in terms of he's probably the best T20 bowler in the world. But I think Curran probably had a better year just with that World Cup. So tough to split them. But yeah, like the NBA All-Star Game, the fan vote has a lot more weight than you think. So thanks for the fans for deciding that one.
Beautiful. Okay, let's move on to some one-day cricket, which we probably won't spend as much time on the one-day stuff. It's probably not a lot of cricket as a whole, not being a World Cup year, but it'll be interesting moving forward this year, being a World Cup year, who takes the prize this year. We'll start with the batters. The few options. There's I've got 5 nominated because I nominated 4 and then I forgot someone that definitely deserves to be nominated. So we've got Shubman Gill, 638 runs at 70 with a strike rate of 102, 100, 450s, 12 games played. Good to see Stephen Smith back in the runs in the one-day format, 539 runs at 67.37, strike rate of 81, 100 and 450s, 11 games played. Just a bit of a shout out with that 100, I believe was on a pretty tough wicket against New Zealand in that pretty dog shit series. So shout out. Travis Head, who we will talk about a bit more later on. 550 runs at 68 with a strike rate of 112. 200, 350s, only 9 games played. Well and truly back in that one-day team. Tommy Latham, good shout out. 558 runs at 55, strike rate of 101. 200s, 250s, 13 times batted. That 100 against India was one of the best knocks I've ever seen in my life. And the last one is Babar Azam, who is the fan vote. Not really surprised. 679 runs at 84, strike rate of 74, 300s and 550s in 9 games. So that's one game where he didn't pass 50. That's something. Look, we'll hear from Lugsy, but this probably might be a bit more clear-cut than we think.
ODI Player of the Year, or Batsman of the Year, sorry. I didn't want to overthink this one too much. I'm going Bubba. I'm going the Pakistani. This was a case of all year, basically just seeing if Pakistan were playing, checking the papers in the morning, and Bubba at 80 or Bubba had 100. Sort of nice to see Stephen Smith get back in the mixer, and obviously Travis Head from where he came to now be up for this, the most prestigious of awards, is pretty impressive. And we won't forget Tommy Latham, the Kiwi, in the mixer. But yeah, I think on this one, it's just a case of going with the right one. Bubba Azam was pretty special all year. Work-ons. He will want to work on that strike rate. I think he was striking around 84, which, in the modern game might be a touch low, but I guess when you can guarantee 80 to 100 every week, you'll probably take that. So I won't overthink this one. Bubba Azam, ODI Batsman of the Year.
Yeah, nice to see Crom sort of value ODI bowlers a bit more in there and sort of correct his own mistake finally.
There's an undercurrent there, though, eh?
Yeah. He knows his true colours are showing through. I'll sort of second what Crom said. Firstly, I will make a case for Tom, purely based off that 100. I mean, it sort of feels like Tom's had a wee bit of a remember the name summer, like that 100 in Pakistan. That big 100 Eden Park. When you talk about sort of awards, you do think of that sort of that moment, that sort of MVP game or the Heisman moment they talk about in college football in the States, that someone has a moment that sort of sticks with you. Obviously, hugely home bias on that, but that 100 he had at Eden Park was, as you said, one of the best knocks you'll ever see. Probably one of the best hundreds I've ever seen, in my lifetime. So that has to get an honourable mention, but purely, as you said, weight of runs for Bubba. I mean, one game not going past 50, 300s, sort of, as Crom said, it seems like whatever was happening in the world, sort of death taxes and Bubba scoring runs for this year. No matter the format, that sort of seemed to be sort of what happened for the whole year. So, honourable mention to Tom, but I mean, Bubba's just got to have it for this.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much more time adding to that. I've gone Bubba as well, which is no surprise. I think when you play 9 games and 8 of those times you go past 50, it's pretty tough. All the sort of averages are around the 60s, the high 50s, and then you got one at 85. It sticks out like a sore thumb. We'll talk about Bubba a lot more as the awards continue. As everyone knows, he's up for a few nominations. So, ODI batter of the year is Bubba Azam. See, I'm doing that as well. I'm getting a bit battery biased myself. So I do apologise to all the bowlers out there. I'll do better. I'll continue on to ODI Bowler of the Year. We'll start with the fan vote, which is Trent Boult, 18 wickets at 12.38, strike rate of 18, economy rate under 4, only 6 games played, could come back to haunt him. Mohammad Siraj, 24 wickets at 23.5, strike rate of 30, economy rate of 4.6, 15 games played. Matt Henry, 18 wickets at 23, strike rate of 29, economy rate of 4.7, 10 games. Adam Zampa, 30 wickets at 17.5, strike rate of 21, economy rate just under 5, and 12 games played. Probably one of not the most clear-cut awards, but be interesting to see where Lugsy lands.
Yeah, for my ODI Bowler of the Year, a huge part of me wanted to go the Kiwi. I mean, it might have been outrageous to go Trent Boult after playing just 6 games, but I thought in that Australian series he was just, he was a cut above to me. With some pretty good bowlers on display, I thought he was the pick of them. So that did make me want to go him, but maybe 6 games is just a few too little. So ultimately I landed on the wee Virgie Aussie, wee Zamps. Getting a bit of heat for that man cat, and rightly so. That was nothing short of disgraceful. We've made our thoughts pretty clear. But Zamps with his wee mullet and, he does. I have to say, you hear a few interviews with him. He's got a bit about him where he's amps. He might be growing on me. Sort of gives that annoying, whiny Aussie look to him when you see him on the field. But this is off-field stuff, isn't it? I'm talking on-field. So, yeah, he's had a terrific year. He's been a huge, sort of, I think for a long time, an underrated part of that Aussie attack. Because obviously the big boys up front got a lot of the credit, but Sam's through the middle, and even earlier Sean done a massive job for Aussie, and it was actually sort of probably the biggest part of their attack, his guaranteed 10 good overs. So yeah, I'll go against my judgment of Tim Trenty, and I will go Zamps.
Yeah, I'm probably a similar vein to Crom. I think this probably is the closest in terms of awards. Trent Boult, obviously, I think is the cream of the crop of these four. But yeah, only playing 6 games. But as Crom said, that Aussie series, Trent was like unbelievable. Yeah, he's really like world class in terms of the player he is. Matt Henry, another Kiwi on there, nice to see, but he's actually quietly one of the best new ball ODI bowlers in the world. We saw it at the 2019 World Cup. We saw a little bit of it here at Hagley in that India series. He was looked genuinely unplayable for sort of 7 overs. And yeah, a mass is quite a nice record, but I do have to go Zampa as well. And something that swung me towards Zampa is his record's really, really good. But if you actually watch him bowl and you see the wickets he gets, who he gets out, I can't remember what it is, but his record against Kohli is unbelievable. He gets Kohli out for fun. He's always seems to be getting the big players out. So yeah, 30 wickets, but I reckon those are all genuinely 30 big dogs, because he sort of does bowl that 10 through the middle when guys are set, aren't really looking to attack him. So yeah, to be able to take wickets, and good wickets through that period, that sort of tip the scale for me. Probably 2 more games for Boult and he probably wins it. But yeah, basically he played 2 series, so tough to give it. But yeah, I think Bolt's the class, but Zampa's had a great year, so has to go towards Zamps.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's where do you draw the line with games? Because you could probably guess that Bolt's stats would be pretty similar if he played enough games. But 6 is it's so little compared to the rest. Zampa's played obviously double that amount, and I think you nailed it with Zampa taking big wickets. Another player he's got in a spin is Williamson. He's got Williamson on toast, and we're watching the Test series between Pakistan and New Zealand, and I don't know, it's a different format, but it's still spin bowling, and Williamson's averaging 80 against spin, the best in the world in the last however many years. And then for Zampa to just have him in knots, it sort of shows that he's a genuine class bowler. I don't think he gets probably the recognition he deserves because he's surrounded by the big, nasty, fast bowlers. But there's a case that he's Australia's number one white ball bowler, I think.
I'd have him as their first pick, ODI player. I think their ODI side, people probably go, oh, Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark, but I think their ODI, if any of those guys are down, they've sort of got that next man up to fill the void. But I mean, if Zampa goes down, their sort of one-day cricket falls apart. Personally,
here's an unanswerable question for you: Who's more valuable to their side? Adam Zampa to the white ball setup, or Nathan Lyon to the red ball setup?
I'm going to say Zampa.
Yeah.
And my only reason is
right.
Zampa has to bowl 10 in every one-day Aussie play, whereas Lyon, you can get it, there's test matches where he's, doesn't really play a part because they're big nasties, just rip apart a team sort of thing. Would be my only reason is Aussie, the test team can win without Lyon bowling. I don't think the one-day team can win without Zampa bowling.
It's probably the best way to look at it. Yeah. Okay, Adam Zampa, your ODI bowler of the year in 2022. Not good at man-catting, apparently. So That was an interesting. What was your take on that, Jackson? Before we move on,
On the Mancad?
on the Zampa Mancat.
Yeah, I think Brian Lara did sum it up pretty well with his look, if a bowler was like 1 centimetre over that crease, no ball, free hit, and if a batter leaves early, it's sort of like frowned upon. Yeah, I mean, as a bowler, I'm like, well, if a batter's getting an advantage and getting home by 2 every time, it is niggly and it is frustrating, but it's also just so village to see. So, yeah, it's a niggly one. I think I've seen some comments. I would love to not be man-catted, but just to be one short. Like if you've left the crease before the ball leaves the bowler's arm, you just lose a run. I think that would be obviously tough to track, gives the third umpire something else to watch, but yeah, it would just take that niggliness out of sort of this man-cad and all the controversy and that, it's in the rules, it's not, like it's not cricket sort of thing. I think, yeah, I'm starting to lean towards, I think making it one short would be a really just perfect middle ground, because it would keep batters in and it would, eliminate this big, like, taking a wicket from it, where you sort of, it just doesn't feel right if a bowler hasn't done anything to take a wicket, if that makes sense. So, yeah, that's where I'm lying on it.
I have sort of come around to it a little bit, just because I didn't realise that you couldn't do what Zampa did, where he basically faked bowled the ball and then went back. So the fact that you're not allowed to do that, I'm probably a little bit more okay with it than I was, just because it sort of takes away the deception a bit more. So like if he's just sort of running up and then cleaning the stumps up, like if you're just watching the bowler, like you're not going to get fooled, but you can get fooled if someone like fake bowls it pretty easily. So
yeah,
yeah, but I think you're right. One short's probably where it needs to go. Righto, couple of probably the two biggest format ones. We've got the test format. Pretty some big numbers here, some massive numbers. We'll start with the batters. Like this is going to be pretty tough. I think we've got Bubba Azam, 1,184 runs at 69.64. That's more runs than anyone else in 2022. 400s and 750s in 17 innings. We've got the Kiwi. We've got Daryl Mitchell, 683 runs at 68.3, 300s and 350s in only 11 innings. If Henry Nicholls passed the fitness test, that may not have happened. That's a wee sliding doors moment for you. The comeback kid, Usman Khawaja, 1,080 runs at 67.5, 400s, 350s, 20 innings. Sensational. We've got Johnny Bairstow, the fan vote, 1,061 runs at 66.3, 600s and 150, 19 innings. And I think that strike rate was about 80 odd. Look, all four deserved winners. We'll hear from Lugsy and then and we'll make our votes.
Test stick of the year, sort of the big one, I reckon. The test batsman of the year, because as we've talked about so often on the pod, it is the biggest proving ground. If you can score test runs, especially across a whole year and across different attacks, different condition, everything that goes into scoring test runs, it is the toughest of tasks in cricket, I believe. So I mean, these guys are going to be hugely honoured to even get a mention in this list. Some good names in the mixer. I went with Bairstow. I think to score runs in Aussie in that Ashes series, which was a hard series, and then from there to go on and dominate like he has in England, and sadly we copped the brunt of that. I thought it was just hugely impressive. I do like him as a player, and it's potentially gone into this pick. Well, I've given him the nod ahead of the other boys. But yeah, I thought Bairstow to do it in all conditions. The way he plays, striking it so well, especially just where he bats as well. Sort of, it's always an interesting position when you come in around that sixth period of how hard you go or what situation you're coming into. A couple of times against us when we had them in real trouble, he's just counter-attacked wonderfully. And I think Bairstow for me is the batsman of the year. I think 600s in the end. Just hugely impressive what he done. Obviously, everyone up for it. He had a great year. Kawaja, from where he came from as well, to now being just sort of locked in that Aussie lineup. Very impressive. Bubba, as always, he was just, as we say, he was just runs the whole year. But I will go Bairstow.
It's an interesting take from Crom. It boils down for me for runs versus tons. And so we've got like Bairstow 600s is very good. Like if we're looking at the great calendar years, 600s is probably right up there. And then Bubba, just the weight of runs. I mean, he has, like, Daryl's the only one with less innings than him. And then sort of he's eclipsed them by sort of 2 less innings and scored 100 more runs than Bairstow and Usman. So yeah, it's tough. It's neck and neck, but I will go Bubba just on weight of runs. As I sort of said in the ODI batter, it just feels like he was death taxes and Bubba scoring runs. It just seemed whenever you were checking scorecards, he was sort of runs for fun. Daryl, give him a wee shout out. That was a hell of a series. I think that, as you said, he was sort of touch and go of if he was actually even, like, he might not have even played that series, and now he's like arguably one of the sort of more lock in our middle order in Test cricket now. So to have that summer, that English summer he had in England against England when they were sort of pretty rampant, deserves a shout out. I suppose if you look at his sort of weight over those 11 innings, if you times that out to 20, he's sort of winning this award in a canter if he batted as many times as Usman did. So probably just not quite enough innings to challenge Bairstow or Bubba. So I'll go Bubba, just purely weight of runs in less innings, and still a whole lot of 50s in there as well. So Bubba for me.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't think there's any necessarily wrong pick in this sort of scenario. I think, like stats wise, I think Bubba is ahead. I think where I sort of landed was sort of where the runs have been scored. So with Bubba, he's only played at home. So he only played in Pakistan. So a lot of their stats are inflated. Obviously, so did Usman, played in Pakistan and he cashed in, but he also scored a lot of runs in Australia. Daryl, like most of those runs are in the UK, which was tough for batting at times. And so was Bairstow. Bairstow scored 100 in Australia. He scored 100 in the West Indies, and then he scored 400s in the UK. Like, if he didn't get injured and he goes to the Pakistan, I mean, fuck me, I don't know what he would have done over there in those pitches, but it would have been special. We might not have seen Harry Brook, which is he'll come up soon. Look, I'm landing on Johnny. I just think the speed of the runs, the change of the game. Like, I feel like if it wasn't for him, I don't know if Baz ball gets off the ground, if you know what I mean. Like, I feel like he sort of started it. He was already scoring runs, to be fair, but and it's not really Bubba's fault that he didn't play anywhere else. Like, he can only score runs where he plays. So I don't want to hold it against him too much, but I think it just felt like the year of Johnny, and I feel right giving him the nod. So with that's two votes plus the fan vote. Test batter of the year is Johnny Bairstow. Test bowler of the year. Now, honestly, this one was probably the hardest one to pick for me. I'll go through the stats. We've got We've got Marco Jansen, who's also up for Rookie of the Year, 36 wickets at 19, strike rate of 35, 8 tests played. We've got Pat Cummins, 36 wickets at 21, pretty stock standard, strike rate of 49, 10 tests played. 12 of those wickets came in Pakistan at 22, which is important to remember. We've got Jimmy Anderson, who's the fan vote, 36 wickets at 19, strike rate of 48, 9 test plays. 8 of those wickets came in Pakistan at 18, which is unbelievable. He's 40. I don't know if that should be taken into account, but it's noted. And then, with that being said, we've still got the leading wicket taker in Test cricket, and he's only played 9 tests. We've got Rabada, 47 wickets at 22 with a strike rate of 34, which is unbelievable. So with that, you've got 3 bowlers that are leader of the attacks: Rabada, Anderson, Cummins. You've got a young pup in Janssen, who's probably going to be up for this award a few times in the future. I did struggle with this one. It'd be interesting to see where Lugsy landed on it. If we hear from him.
Test Bowler of the Year. I'm probably going to get this wrong. I mean, it's my pick, so I guess it can't be wrong, but I guess I'm probably going to get disagreed upon. But for me, and I apologise to the South African listeners, I just didn't see enough of Rabada. And I saw a lot of Cummings. Obviously, over here, we get a lot of the Aussie coverage, so I spoiled my pick there, but I'm going Paddy Cummings. It's just the spells he can bowl and the consistency he bowls with in Test cricket. As a friend of the show, or host of the show, dare I say, Matt Hunter pointed out last night, just breathing fire in that spell. And that's what I love about him. He's just consistent. He runs in hard. He bowls all day. He bowls spells that are seemingly unplayable. And he's been doing it for a long time now. So just the fact, as I say, Rabada's stats with the 40-odd wickets, you're probably going to go Rabada, a lot of people out there, and I certainly can't throw a flag on that. Been a little disappointing maybe in this series. Wow, in saying that, he's bowled a couple of ripping spells, so maybe I'm wrong there actually. Occasionally when I saw him, he wasn't bowling the best, but then he did bowl a couple of rippers. Just thinking this through in real time here, obviously. I'm going to stick with Paddy Cummings, but yeah, I mean, if people go Rabada, and I'm sure a lot will, I can't throw a flag on that, but I'll go Paddy Cummings. For me, I could be wrong. I apologise to all South African fans.
Again, I think this is the closest, as you said, Munter. I think there's a real argument for Cummins and Anderson, especially considering what they did in Pakistan. But for me, I mean, I just can't look past 47 wickets, striking at 35. That is unbelievable. To have 10 wickets on all these guys, and then to have Marco Jansen in the list as well, and he's sort of had to take 47 wickets in the same team as Marco Jansen. When you throw in Norchi playing and sort of that attack, it could easily be 4 guys, 30 wickets apiece for the year, but for Rabada to nearly take 50 poles, and I mean, we saw that spell he bowled when Aussie needed 34 to win, and 19 of those were extras or something. We were sitting there sort of messaging, going fuck, if Aussie needed 50 to win here, they might not make it. That's how good Rabada was bowling. I think, especially the Kiwis and stuff that don't see a lot of Rabada, to see that series and to see how he just gets a ball to explode and rip through guys. I think adding 10 wickets on the 3 other guys in this list, I just can't look past that for me. So yeah, I'll go Rabada as my bowler of the year.
Yeah, and that's where I landed for a long time. I had him for a bit, but it's the stuff in Pakistan that it's hard to ignore. It kind of would Rabada's strike rate be similar if he was playing in Pakistan? I don't know. You're guessing, but I don't know. It's a tough one. I'm sort of toying here, but I had to sort of like the stats for me are all pretty similar when you're taking into account the Pakistan stuff. And then I had to go, who's the better bowler? Who do I want bowling? And I think it's Cummins. You never ever get a bad spell out of Cummins. Like with Rabada, like sometimes, and maybe it's because he plays too much cricket, I don't know. But sometimes you have spells where he doesn't have it. It's slow. He gets pumped, and then he has spells like at the Gabba where he just can rip through a side. Whereas Cummins is he's like just lock him down for every series at 21. It doesn't matter where it is. Like he played all 3 tests in Pakistan. That fifer on the final day to win the series was unbelievable. He can bowl on any wicket. He can bowl in any way. Like last night, I know it's in 23, but he's going around the wicket. He's bumping guys. He can bowl that if he wants, or he can just go turn into. He can bowl reverse swing. He can and then you got like Jimmy's got a case as well. Like he was so good in Pakistan, like the reverse swing. I guess the difference between Anderson and Cummins is probably like Cummins will play every test. Anderson probably can't because of his age, and they have to rest him every now and then. So obviously he only played 2 out of 3 tests. It's tough. I'm gonna go Cummins, but I don't think there's a wrong pick. Yeah, so that's for me. So with that being said, we've got Rabada with 1 vote. We've got Anderson with the fan vote. We've got 2 votes for Paddy Cummins. So another award for Paddy Cummins, Test Bowler of the Year 2022. Congratulations.
And as sort of Crom does like to add weight to, sort of pretty good looking too.
Yep, I think that's fair to say he's probably the best looking of the group. Anderson, special shout out. Even he seems to be getting better looking at 40. I think it's fair to say. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. We've gone to the bigger of the awards, the Americanized sort of style. Coach of the Year. We've got 3 nominations because honestly, there was probably only 2 teams that did anything this year. It's England and Australia, and I would say almost every other team underperformed. When I looked at it, I was like, Gary Stead, probably going to get the boot soon. You got like Mark Belcher. They can't bat. They only picked 6 batters. The other person I was thinking about, which I probably should have put in later, was like a Chris Silverwood, who seems to have made Sri Lanka improve. Probably the only team that's got better. But again, like if you compare it to the years of Australia and England, it's not quite there. So your nominations are, we've got Andrew McDonald. Obviously had to take over from Justin Langer, which was a pretty spicy sort of breakup. He only lost 1 test in 2022. They beat Pakistan in Pakistan. They also beat New Zealand and England 3-0 in ODIs. Still the best test team in the world. Matthew Mott, the current England white ball coach, but also people probably won't remember the Australian women's coach at the start of the year. So in 1 year, he's able to win the 50 over World Cup with the Australian women's side and probably turn them into probably the best cricket team ever. I think it's in terms of just dominance. It's probably them and the early Australians men's side. I think it's a case either side. And then you got and then he's won with the England men's T20 team World Cup. So 2 World Cups and not just 2 different formats, but 2 different genders is pretty impressive as a coach. And then we got Brendan McCullum, the fan vote. Bazball, it's been the year of Bazball. Took the England test team from 1 win in 17 to 9 in their last 10 test matches. First team to whitewash Pakistan 3-0 in Pakistan. There's a lot more to be said. We'll hand over to Lugsy and his pick, and then we'll discuss.
Coach of the Year. I'm sorry, Barrett. It's Brendan. The reason I say that and I jump to him straight away is because I think we can talk about all these awards and everything, as Munter talks about a bit, a lot of these games sort of just get forgotten pretty quickly. And I think when we look back on 2022, the main thing, you'll probably remember England winning the T20 World Cup. World Cups are always sort of remembered. And then the big line of 2022, whether we like it or not, is going to be baseball. I think as a coach, when you're coaching professional players, you're not trying to teach them, the ABCs. These guys are all world-class cricketers. You're trying to make an impact on a team and change your team's culture, and change, make their style of play how you want it, and sort of everything that goes into actually being a leader. And I think no one's done that more than Baz. I just can't. As I say, I think the story of 2022 is Test cricket coming back and baseball. So yeah, I'll go with Brendan.
I think it gets closer than you think. I think Mott has a real case here. His work in the women's game was sort of unbelievable, and then to basically transfer straight across and get titles with the England side. You said 2 World Cups in a year to win them both. I think he is quietly one of the, he's on the list, but he's actually quite underrated as a coach, it seems. So yeah, there's a real case. I think the only thing that lets Andrew McDonald down is I sort of feel like anyone could have potentially taken over that team, with some coaching merit, and the same thing would have happened. It feels like the players wanted Andrew McDonald because of sort of his nature and how he would sort of run the side, versus putting this new coach in place and him changing things. It just feels like Andrew McDonald, he was chosen sort of by the players because they wanted him there, and then he's just sort of been that facilitator. But yeah, it's I'll touch on it now. It's McCullum, isn't it? He hates the name Baz Ball, but for what he's done to that England side, I don't think I've ever seen something like that in terms of the Test cricket arena, to have so many teams talking about it and have so many teams being like, well, you've only done it against X, wait until we get there, and then they do it there, and then they do it to them. And it was sort of, they only did it to New Zealand, wait until India play, and then they pumped India, and then it was like, we'll wait till they get to Pakistan, and then they batted at sevens for a day, and they pumped Pakistan, and then it's sort of shit, that's 3 of the big teams. Who's actually left? What do they have to do? Nut South Africa and South Africa, and then beat Aussie and Aussie. Okay, that's 2 of the harder places to tour. So yeah, I think that sort of constant, it's worked, but wait until it doesn't, and then it's just kept working, and sort of everything you hear, all McCullum's interviews, even the way he's right, when we win, the players go to interviews. If we lose, I'll bear the brunt of it. There's just so much going into turning that England side around. They haven't changed their players drastically, and to basically change coach and captain, and now they are the talk of Test cricket. They are probably must-watch TV in terms of Test cricket. For that sort of 360 of a side that was they've got the talent, why aren't they performing to where they are now? It's got to be McCullum for me.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I won't add a hell of a lot more than that. Obviously, mine's McCullum as well. And I think all 3 teams have all won at a very high level, and they all, in a nutshell, deserve the role. The award as Coach of the Year. But I think the difference is, Andrew McDonald, he took over a successful side already, and so did Matthew Mott. With not to discredit what stuff they did with the Australian women's team, I think that was obviously impressive. And you're right, he is an underrated coach. But the England white ball setup was a machine already. That team was firing. So I think there's an argument that anyone could have done that job as well. It's not a great argument, but you could still make that case. You can't do that with the Brendan McCullum, that Test team. After that, we're only talking March. They lost that series to West Indies. They were awful. They were honestly, the amount of content I was getting from just ripping into England was unbelievable. It was some of my best stuff. Then it's just gone absolutely full circle to they are
Yeah.
box office stuff.
The doubt that McCullum had going into his tenure as well. Like, I've never seen anything like that about a coach. Like, what's England doing? They've fucking hired a guy who's coached like 2 2020 leagues ever. Like, there's just so much that McCullum had to like overcome to put that side where it is now, and it's just unbelievable to watch, really.
100%. So, unanimous this year. Brendan McCullum, Coach of the Year. Most Improved Player of the Year is a very tough one. We've got 4 guys. I don't think there's any sort of honourable mentions. I think these 4 guys have gone from zeros to heroes in 1 year. Sam Curran, look, the stats don't quite tell the story, but you've got here, in his 3 years before this year, he only played 16 T20s, 16 wickets at 23 with an economy rate of 8. This year, 19 T20s, 25 wickets at 21.08, economy rate of 7.5. Doesn't tell the full story because now he's like a death bowler. He was last year. He was like in and out of that white ball setup. It definitely wasn't first picked. But now World T20 Player of the Tournament, IPL 2023 richest player of all time. Will it last? I guess we'll find out. But in terms of improvement, that's up there. Usman Khawaja, in 2020 and 2021, he's not on the test side. He's just playing Sheffield Shield. 2022 comes around. He comes in for Travis Head, who's out with COVID. Started with the twin hundreds. 1,079 test runs at 72. 400s in that year is unbelievable. So that's a massive turnaround. Another one is Travis Head, who is the fan vote. Dropped from the test team in 2021. He's not playing ODIs. He does get recalled for the back end of the Ashes, which is obviously the back end of 2021. In 2022, 604 test runs at 50.33. He's now the 4th ranked test batsman in the world. And he also 550 ODI runs at 68. So he's firmly embedded in both sides now. And the last nomination, Johnny Bairstow. This was his 2021, 391 test runs at 24, 0 hundreds, strike rate of 48. 2022, 1,061 test runs at 66, 600s with a strike rate of 76. A hell of a turnaround. Lugsy, over to you there, pal.
Most improved. Often the trophy as a youngster no one wanted. Sort of one of those ones back in the day that it was like for the kid that wasn't great, but he had showed slight improvement. So if you had maybe gone from doing cartwheels 1 year and then actually walking in with the bowler the next year, you were the sort of guy that got that award. So, I mean, potentially not the huge honour as a kid you sort of thought it was, but as you get a bit older and realise improvement, a big part of the game, and becomes a bit more important, I guess. And actually, Munter's produced four players that have had unbelievable years and actually now became sort of 4 of the world's best. So a prestigious award from the TMC, and I'm sure this person will be hugely honoured with it. All guys, as I said, actually had massive years and sort of amongst the world's best at the moment, but I simply couldn't go past Travis Head. For what he's done and for where he's came from, it's pretty impressive. I think that's sort of, we touched on like how sometimes those ODI games and that seem hugely unimportant. Like Aussie, England it was, and Aussie won 3-0, but at least one thing that came out of that was Travis Head, and sort of once Finch left and he's got that opening spot, they seem pretty sorted now with him and Warner and the ODIs going through to that next World Cup. So that is one thing that can come out of that. And just, watching some of the South Africa series, the way he's batting is pretty amazing. So I think on this one, I'm going Travis Head pretty comfortably for me. Obviously, all the guys, as we've mentioned, have had great years, but Travis Head, from where he came from not actually being in the side, from being dropped to now sort of being one of the world's best at the moment and in career best form, I'll go him for the prestigious Rookie of the Year, and he'll be stoked.
That's good stuff.
Did he forget what award that was for a second there?
Yeah, halfway through. I think it's because he wasn't playing. He thinks he's a rookie. Yeah, I mean, for this one, it is tough. I think there's two sort of clear options. I think it's either Curran or Travis Head. I think, I don't want to discount guys, but I think my only discount for Bairstow is that he is a fucking unbelievable white ball player, and it just felt like he needed to sort it, like figure it out in Test cricket. Like he sort of batted a bit all over the place, and sort of his role wasn't really clear. And then once it finally was sort of figured out, like he just figured it out. He didn't actually. I'm not sure if he improved. Would be my only thing for Bairstow. It's not like he was sort of shit at white ball cricket too. He's been sort of a premier white ball player for years and years and years. So I think for me, Bairstow sort of figured it out instead of improving, if that makes sense. And then for Usman, I think he hasn't improved as a batter. He's just finally got his run. It always sort of seemed that he was a home track bully was his sort of rep. And Aussie were looking for a consistent partner for Warner, so he sort of got looked over. And then sort of weight of runs, he just finally had to get picked and did an unbelievable job. But I think it was more inevitable than him getting better as a player. So yeah, I suppose that leaves Head and Curran. To develop that death bowling skill and to be world class at it, I think can't be looked down upon. It's probably the toughest job in world cricket is death bowling in T20 cricket. So for me, that holds a lot of weight. And then for Head to go from basically barely in the Aussie team to one of their first few picked and where he is, it's very close between those two for me. I'll lean to Curran. I'll zag a little bit from Crom purely because I think he's doing one of the hardest skills in the world at an elite level. To basically go from 16 T20s ever to sort of 19 in a year, best T20 bowler there is. There wouldn't be many guys sort of on that T20 bowler of the year list that were T20 nobodies 12 months ago. So yeah, I've got to go Curran there.
Yeah, I mean you've made some very good points there, and it's I don't really think there's a wrong pick. I think it's just you can make a case for everyone. I think the one about Khawaja just not getting a shot is a good one. I guess it's like it'd be like someone that's like in the G League for 2 years and then suddenly they're like one of the top point scorers in the NBA and in the year, but like it's not his fault he wasn't picked. Travis Head, I think for me, the only downside I think is he didn't actually score any runs in Sri Lanka or Pakistan, so he still can't play spin that we know of. I guess we'll find out when they go to India soon. So I don't know. Like he sort of scored all his runs at home, and to his credit, he was unbelievable. So he's won the fan votes. I'm still going. I started with Johnny. I've swayed a wee bit. I can't ignore an average, like he's an average of 24 to an average of 66, 0-hundreds to 600s.
Yeah,
like it's I know he hasn't played much differently, but it's just I don't know if he didn't improve, he's not playing Test cricket anymore. Like he's probably down and out. Like I would say, like he's been in and out of that side for years. Like they've dropped him from keeping, they've dropped him from the team. He's batting 3, he's opening, he's batting 6. He's been asked to do everything. He might get the gloves back when to try and fit Harry Brook, but I'm going to settle on Bairstow for my pick. So we've got one pick for Bairstow, one pick for Curran. Lugsy, he went Travis Head, didn't he? Did he go Travis Head?
He did.
Yeah, that's right.
So Travis Head.
Combine that with the fan vote, I think. So the most improved player of 2022 is Travis Head. Congratulations. Rookie of the year. Yes, some big dogs here. Scotty Boland, build the man a statue. 5 tests, 25 wickets at 10. At 10.
6 at the G.
6 at the G with a strike rate of 30. Goodness me. Marco Jansen, 8 tests at 40 wickets at 18, strike rate of 32. I mean, he's in the test bowling discussion. Unbelievable first year. Harry Brook, he's an all-format player out of nowhere. 4 tests at 480 at 80. 306 innings. Michael Bracewell, another all-format player out of the blue. He's had a massive year. First time contracted. He's in the test squad. He's in the T20 squad. He's in the ODI squads now. Averages 44 in ODIs, 30 in T20s, 17 wickets at 9.8, economy rate of 5.24 in T20s. There's a case for everyone. We'll go to Lugsy and we'll go from there.
I'll start with our Rookie of the Year. Obviously, a big part of me wants to go the Kiwi boy, Michael Bracewell. We'll call him a friend of the show, former teammate. Back in the under-13 days, and a quality player he was then, and what a great year he's had. I'm probably going to be crushed by recency bias here, but I ended up landing on Harry Brook. I think just the way he burst on the scene in those test matches was pretty special. Just the style of cricket he's playing and what a big future he has. I did want to shout out Scotty Boland. Obviously, just in terms of a cult figure, really taken Aussie by storm, which is pretty cool. And maybe no one's a more popular rookie than Scotty. Ever since that display in the Ashes, what a great year he's had. And trying to force your way into that Aussie Test team's not easy. So for any rookie to have that sort of impact and get a crack and try and mix it up with the big boys of Aussie Test cricket bowling is pretty impressive. But I did end up landing on Harry Brook, and I'll stick with him.
Yeah, I think this one, it's tough, isn't it? Because recency bias plays into it, and a guy sticking for one good series is tough to argue against because he was unbelievable for one series. But I think for me, it's going to be Marco Jansen. I think those bowling stats, as you said, he was his bowling stats were pretty identical to Cummins and Anderson, who are sort of two titans of cricket. So, for him to be in the conversation for that in his first year, he's visceral, he's 2 metres. You feel like he's going to get better at batting just because he's so tall. Don't ask me why that is, but I just think tall batters look good. Boland 6 at the G. That was in 2021, so I don't know if we're counting it. But yeah, I mean, Boland is to come onto the scene and potentially push one of those big 3 Aussie quicks out. For that even to be a conversation is massive for a new player. But yeah, I think purely sort of those to be in the conversation for Test Bowler of the Year against Rabada, Cummins, Anderson, it's got to be Marco Jansen for me.
Yeah, that's fair. And full disclosure, Jansen and Boland did make their debut on Boxing Day in 2021, so I'm counting them, even though technically it's 2021. Sue me. So the way I sort of rule it, I mean, all 4 have a case. I have favoured guys that are playing multiple formats, just because I feel like to go from nothing to all formats is quite an achievement. Because you got in Scotty Boland, I'm thinking he's only really playing tests that favour him. He didn't go to Pakistan. He's only really playing he's obviously doing an awesome job, whereas Jansen's playing every test and his stats are unbelievable. And then I had sort of between Michael Bracewell and Harry Brook, and I think it's closer than probably what people think. I think Bracewell's had an unbelievable year. I guess the difference between the two is I think Harry Brook probably is now in all 3 formats. I think he's in the starting 11, potentially for all 3 formats. I think that test team might be interesting when BSO comes back, but he's going to be definitely pushing the case. Whereas Bracewell, I think, has been in and out of the T20 side, rightly or wrongly. ODIs, he's probably in that squad. Tests, he's it'll be interesting to see if he's in that first test against England. But I'm going to go Harry Brooks. I just think, world-class T20 player, world-class test player now. Yeah, maybe a bit of recency bias. I don't know, but I'm going Harry Brooks. So that makes it sort of 3-1. So with that, Rookie of the Year, Harry Brook, congratulations. Now the big one, the biggest event on the calendar, the biggest award we have at TMC. We have the most valuable player. We don't have a sponsor yet, unfortunately. Kia, if you're listening, we are taking offers. Most valuable player, MVP. Here are the nominees. We've got Sky back again. Obviously, as I said, most T20I runs in 2022. Averaging 46, striker of 187. He's changing the game of T20 cricket, in my opinion. Doing things that we've never seen before. Paddy Cummins, captain of probably the best test team in the world at the moment, but obviously the best test bowler himself. Only lost one test. 30 odd wickets at 21 or whatever it is. Babar Azam scored more international runs by anyone. Like, he's had a nomination. We've labelled him as the best one-day batter in the world. He's had a nomination for the best test player in the world. He's probably not far off being one of the best T20I batters in the world. So I think it's pretty fair to say he's the best all-format player in the world, bar none. And the fan vote, Ben Stokes. I mean, we talk about Bazball this year. I think it's potentially more Stokes ball. He's taken the leash the lack of leash that Brendan McCullum's given him, and he's just really run with it. Man of the match in the T20 World Cup. He's turned the test team into what they are now. Winning 3-0 in Pakistan. Like, we've just seen a drawn series between New Zealand and Pakistan. To get a result is unbelievable. And on top of that, he's 870 test runs at 36, 26 test wickets at 31. It's been a solid year. So with that being said, Lugsy, he'll have first crack.
Yeah, full disclosure, I'm just currently recording from the Dunedin Hospital, the men's toilets. And I tell you what, the smell in here isn't actually 100%. So not my finest hour, and organisation 2023 certainly starts tomorrow. MVP, the big one, probably the award that's going to change someone's career here, and I'm not sure if they're going to be in person to accept. I haven't talked to Munter. Don't know if he's got the boys on the blower or if anyone's got the suit on ready to go and going to be here. But if they're not, just a huge congratulations to everyone nominated for such a prestigious award. Look, to me, all obviously sensational players. I think for his work across all formats, a lot of guys are going to go Bubba. And absolutely fair enough, what a year that the man has had. But the way I'm looking at this award is, when we think back in 10 years' time to 2022, what are we going to think? And to me, we're going to think English cricket. We're going to think changing times, the way Test cricket's played, and more important to that, how cricket in general is being looked at with the franchise staff. We're going to think Bazball, and we're going to think Ben Stokes. So for me, the MVP of this year, for everything he's done on the field and off it, in terms of the way they've spoken, the way they've talked about changing the game, for me, I couldn't go past Ben Stokes. So, Benjamin, if you are here, congratulations. I'm sorry I couldn't be part of the recording, live and exclusive, but huge congratulations to Ben Stokes. For me, the MVP of 2022.
Plenty to unpack there from Crom. Mainly just going to love to hear the thought process of toilet versus sort of anywhere else. And then I'd love to know if someone was in the stall next to him, sort of really wondering what's going on. So yeah, a bit to unpack. But yeah, I think for the MVP, like, if you're talking value, you sort of want to think like it's like value added versus like the next guy. Like if you put anyone else in Stokes' position, I don't know what happens to England. I don't think it's the same. I think Bubba has scored some unbelievable runs, but like Pakistan lost a lot at home this summer. They were pretty average, and like they lost in the World Cup. Like I think Aussie Cummins unbelievable, like best test bowler in the world. I don't think anyone's going to argue that. But I think without Cummins, Aussie is still very, very good. Like I think if you played Boland, Hazelwood, Stark, like obviously you're missing something, but I don't think the drop off's huge. India's batting in T20 cricket, they're just a batting factory. Like they've got so many guys coming out. Like not even spoken about today is the wicketkeeper that scored 200 in ODI. Like that's unbelievable. Like what's to say he can't come in and do sort of what Sky's done? So I mean those three guys are all unbelievable players. But in terms of like if you're going the most valuable player, like if you take Stokes away from England, they capitulate. Like he's the guy for the moment. He's the guy that like he's the guy you want basically. Like in that T20 World Cup final, he walked out to the crease, and I think like a lot of people were like, England have got this. Like he's the guy they need out there. What he's done with McCullum to that test side, like we spoke about it in Coach of the Year. Like I've never seen a transformation like that in a test environment sort of ever. So I think in terms of if you're going like most valuable to their team and to their country, it's Ben Stokes head and shoulders for me.
Yeah, I mean, let's just go ahead and make it unanimous. I think, look, the only one that can sort of push Stokes is Bubba. I think any other year, if you put together that sort of statistical resume, you're probably bringing home the bacon. It's a bit like, I don't know, I just feel like it's a bit like the Russell Westbrook triple-double season. Like it's all stats, no results for me. And
results matter.
Yeah, results do matter, and I think you've summed it up quite well with the value. And I think if you replace Stokes with someone else, like we saw that with Joe Root. It's so bad. It's so much difference, and like I don't think we saw the best from Ben Stokes with the bat, but I don't think it mattered because what he was doing with the rest of that team you can't put a number on that. Like it's just, well, you can. It's 9 wins from 10. That's the number. But
it's Bairstow adding 35 onto his Red Bull average and scoring 6 extra hundreds, like all that sort of stuff. Like you just can't tell me that happens with Root as captain.
Nah, well, it didn't. It didn't. Yeah. He had 6 years. Nothing happened. So I think that's an easy one. I think 2022 most valuable player is Ben Stokes. Congratulations. Fortunately, couldn't make it, but he sends his love. Of course, big fan of the show, I assume. So that's our cricketing awards, all done and dusted. But we have got one final award. Obviously, nothing to do with cricket. Snack of the week. It's been a hotly contested award between three of the great snackers of our time. Unfortunately, personally, I've only had 3 wins to Lugsy and Jacko's 6 apiece, but sometimes, or 12 times, you just lose to a better side, and that's okay. But we decided to go back into the archives and pick our snack of the year for 2022. For integrity purposes, we have stripped Lugsy's winning KFC, box of beer, and any meals just to keep it an even playing field. I think just thinking about it, since it is 6 apiece between you and Lugsy there, Jacko, this could probably be the decider for the snack MVP, if you will, which is exciting.
TMC's best snacker.
Yeah, it's a massive award for us. Do we want to hear from Lugsy and then we'll hear from yourself?
I mean, I don't even know if we're doing snack of the year, but I'm going to throw one out there anyway. What a just a huge year for snacking and snacking in general, and a big part of my 2023 will actually be trying to lay off the snacks a bit. I know it's sad news, but I mean, I've got out of control last year. That's fair to say. I'm actually on the cusp of needing to go into rehab at this point. But we will celebrate the year that was, 2022, a big year for snacking, as I mentioned. This is going to be a huge call potentially, but I think my favourite snack, and it's because it's new and because it's a rookie and it's a hot new toy, but like any good kid, I favour that. I'm going to go the Hazella. Just absolutely burst on the scene, didn't it? And sort of took the world by storm there, or New Zealand anyway. And I just find it to be absolutely terrific. I love Whittaker's chocolate in general. I'm a huge Nutella guy. Try not to eat it, but geez, I ripped in over New Year's. Probably, stole that up from a couple of kids who probably livid when they got home and realised their mum's Nutella was absolutely gone. But, I'm going to have to go with Hazella. A wonderful chocolate and served me well. I mean, when something becomes so popular it's out of stock, you know she's a winner. So Hazella for mine.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge play from Crom. He's gone the Harry Brook of snacks.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough to beat, eh?
Fuck it. Well, it is good. I would have liked Crom on to just hear talk us through in person. We went to buy a block of Hazella and just grabbed the hazelnut sort of chunks instead. Finished the block, but he was pretty gutted about it. So yeah, it's a great option from one of the great snackers. And then for me, probably looked back at my wins. Gone back to the well, sort of two of my more resounding wins. It did come down to the barbecue shape, the green shape box, which sort of rears its head this time of year. There's always a shape box floating, and they're very good. Or the sour Coke bottle, which I got a couple in a pick and mix the other day, and they just hit so good. That you're never gutted with them. They're always there. They're always unbelievable. Sort of a great time of year to sort of grab an ice cream or a $2 mixture. And
just the Pat Cummins of lollies. You just never get a bad sour Coke bottle.
Yeah, you never get a bad sour Coke bottle. So yeah, I'll go back to the well. I'll go sour Coke bottles because I mean, you just never gutted. They're very good, and for a Coke nation, the sour Coke bottle just hits every time.
Beautiful, another good option. As I said, it hasn't been the most successful season in terms of results, but I feel like I'm hitting the ball well, and runs will come in 2023, I'm sure. My snack of 2022 is going to be the Nutella donut. Obviously, I didn't have as many wins to pick from as the others, but as I mentioned in the past, I'm a big fill up the car at BP, sneaky AA fuel card, and get myself a wee donut for the trip home. Donuts, just a fabulous snack in general. Never had a bad donut. But then when you add in a bit of chocolate on top and Nutella in the middle, you're just never getting a dull bite. It's all noise. Nothing. Yeah, it's all go, which is nice. I'm not too sure if it'll be enough. This is the best of the best. But I feel like, we fight our best shot, and that's all you can ask for. So, that's all from me. Anything else you want to add there, Jacko?
No. I think you could have looked at the barbecue kettle chip. That could have been an option. Would probably be your only other one, I thought, because that was pretty resounding. A lot of people's favourite chip, but great year of snacking, great year of cricket, and can't wait for 2023.
Too easy. Right, that's us for another episode. Thank you for listening. Check out our Patreon. Leave us a rating and review, and of course, like and subscribe. Jacko, pleasure as always, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, mate. Catch ya.